Halloween decorations. Normally, most of us in the neighborhood would put up, you know, like a rubber skeleton, and we'd buy a witch from Costco, and that was it. He would put what looked to me like real human skulls outside of his house. He would have real, you know, hatchets hanging from the wall with what looked like real blood dripping from them. He would dig a pit in the front yard, and at the bottom of this pit was a real coffin with what looked like real body parts hanging out of it. And the place was so scary that kids wouldn't go there, and parents wouldn't let their kids go there, and everybody stayed away from him and stayed away from, nobody would trick-or-treat at his house. And that was our neighbor. And one day I was coming home with my 4-year-old son in the backseat of the car, and I drove into the garage. And according to my wife, what you're supposed to do is stay in the car, close the garage, and then you get out of the garage. Then you get out of the car, and that's how it works. And that's crazy. I don't do that. So I got out of the car and I went to the back seat. I picked up my 4-year-old son. I went to the wall to switch off, to put down the garage door. And as the garage door was closing, these two guys kind of slipped in and rolled in under the door and popped up. And they both had guns, and one of them came up to me and he shoved the gun at my head and he said, "I'll pop you off. It's nothing to me. I've done it before. It's nothing where I come from." And I'm holding my son in my arms and I'm frightened, and I just want this to be over with as quickly as possible. So I still have the keys in my hand, and I say, "Here, just take the car." And he doesn't like that answer, and he whacks me over the head with his gun, and I can feel like my hair getting warm from the blood, and I'm still holding on to my son, and I'm feeling woozy from the blow. And then he says, the guys want me to turn off the alarm. And I say, well, my nanny's inside with my 1-year-old daughter. I can't turn off the alarm. And they don't like that answer either. And he hits me a second time, and I can feel more blood, and I'm still holding on to my son, and I'm afraid I'm going to drop him, and I put him down on the garage floor. And these two guys kind of hustle me out of the garage, and I leave my son there because I figure the danger is with me, and the further away I can get from him, the safer he'll be. So they take me through the backyard to the back door, and I knock on the door, and my nanny comes to the door and sees me bleeding and sees these two guys pointing guns at me, and I just tell her to calm down and let us into the house, and she does. And then the guys want to know where I keep my gun, and I don't have a gun, and they don't like that answer, and they hit me again. And then they want to know where my safe is, and I don't have a safe. And I tell them that, and they don't like that, and they hit me over the head. And my nanny is really getting hysterical at this point, and they tell her to shut up, and they make her lie down, flat on the ground. And she puts my 1-year-old daughter kind of underneath her protectively to kind of protect her instinctively from what's going on. And then I have this surreal conversation with these guys. I'm trying to come up with something for them to steal. We have silver that my wife's grandmother gave her. So I say, well, why don't you take the silver? But that's too heavy. They don't like that, and they hit me again. And I say, well, what about the TV? Take the TV. And they don't like that answer either. And they hit me again. And with each blow, I'm really having trouble staying conscious. And they take the three of us, my nanny, my 1-year-old daughter, and myself, and they put us in this little closet in the hallway, and they close the door, and they tell us if we come out, they're going to shoot us. And we're sitting there in the dark in this little closet, and we can hear the guys ransacking the apartment. And I'm sitting there, and I'm bleeding, and the nanny's sobbing, and I'm remembering all of a sudden that a couple of weeks ago at a Kookaroo, which is a fast food place in Los Angeles, they had been a shooting there. Somebody had come in when they were closing down at 1 or 2 in the morning, and had made the 3 guys who were working there closing down the place, made them get down on their knees, and had shot all 3 of them in the back of the head and killed them. It was an assassination. And my wife had completely freaked out about this, and I remember telling her that, that it was probably gang-related or drug-related, that it's another world, that's not our world, we don't live in that world, and that you don't worry about it. But sitting in the dark in the closet, it feels to me like that world and my world have now sort of come together. And what scares me is that these guys are not wearing masks. And I've seen their faces, and I know that when you've seen their faces, that's bad. They'll shoot you at the end of it. And I'm also thinking about my son, who's probably still in the garage, and I want to go out and rescue him. But at the same time, I don't want to get shot. And I always thought that when it comes to one of my children, that I would put my own life in danger for their sake. But now, sitting in the dark there, it's not so easy. I don't want to die. I don't want him to die, but I don't want to die either. And it feels like it's sort of like Sophie's Choice, except I'm one of the choices. And I'm thinking that my wife probably would have just rushed out, damn the consequences, and would have gone to her son. But here I am, sort of weighing it and afraid that I'm going to get killed if I try and help him. And I'm feeling very, 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 very guilty about that. And all of a sudden, we hear a cell phone go off inside the house.